Hello everyone, I am Demented Kirby, and welcome to my channel, the Commander Tavern. The Commander Tavern is a channel dedicated to my favorite Magic the Gathering format. The Brewery is a series on this channel showcasing my spicy brews and other deck techs. On this episode of the Brewery, I will be discussing a new commander previewed from Commander 2019, Atla Palani, Nest Tender. Atla is a legendary human shaman that costs 1 generic, 1 red, 1 green, and 1 white. It's a 2/3 for 4 mana, which aren't great stats, but its toughness is going to be very relevant later on. Atla's abilities are what allows it to be the commander of a truly spicy deck. You can pay 2 generic and tap it to create a green 0/1 egg creature token with Defender. That might not seem like much until you keep reading and find out that whenever an egg you control dies, you can look through the top of your deck until you find a creature and cheat it into play. The core of the deck will be taking advantage of that ability, meaning that we want effective and efficient ways to sacrifice eggs. Granted, having eggs on the board while Atla is in play is a great deterrent against attacks, but we don't want to depend on that to kill them. This is why I'm running Ashnod's Altar and Phyrexian Altar in order to sacrifice eggs for mana, Perilous Forays to ramp into lands, and Shivan Harvest to destroy non-basic lands. However, sacrificing isn't the only way to kill eggs. Some sweet tech for this deck comes in the form of Blasting Station. Atla's eggs are 0/1, meaning that Blasting Station can snipe them for 1 damage. Then, when Atla cheats a creature into play when the egg dies, that creature that entered the battlefield untaps Blasting Station, and you can do it all over again. In other words, Blasting Station can kill all of Atla's eggs for free. A great way to kill eggs is with Ether Flash. Not only will this enchantment keep opponents' token strategies and mana dorks in check, but any egg token you create dies the moment it enters the battlefield. This is good because Atla's toughness of 3 will allow her to survive Ether Flash's ping. If the board is too full of creatures, then just wipe it with Wrath of God or Day of Judgment. Atla's triggers still go to the stack even if she's dying at the same time as the eggs. Some spicy tech for the deck comes from Mirror Entity. Mirror Entity not only makes all of your creatures into eggs, as well as every other creature type, but if you pay 0, all your creatures become 0/0 eggs, triggering Atla that many times. That's great and all, but 1 egg a turn doesn't really seem very impactful in a multiplayer game of Commander. Well, who says Atla has to only make 1 egg a turn? Equipping her with Illusionist's Bracers allow you to make 2 eggs when you activate her ability. Umbral Mantle allows you to untap Atla for 3 generic mana. Attaching Instill Energy and Nature's Chosen to Atla are great ways to untap her for free, even though you can only use that ability once per turn. Thornbite Staff is a great equipment in the deck because not only could you potentially equip it to Atla for free when she enters the battlefield, since she's a shaman, but she gets to untap whenever a creature you control dies, in this case the egg. Not only that, but when paired with Ashnod's Altar, Thornbite Staff allows you to go infinite with Atla. If you sacrifice an egg to Ashnod's Altar, Thornbite Staff untaps Atla. You can then use that colorless mana from the altar to once again create an egg token with Atla. Just rinse and repeat afterwards. This allows you to cheat every creature from your library onto the battlefield. Additionally, Atla isn't the only egg maker in the deck. Nesting Dragon makes a red 0/2 egg creature whenever a land enters the battlefield, something that happens quite often since I'm running 10 fetch lands and 3 ramp spells plus Perilous Forays. And since those eggs have 2 toughness, they also die upon entering the battlefield if Ether Flash is in play. That's great synergy. I'm also running Birthing Balls because Changeling are eggs too. Volrath's Laboratory might be a bit overcosted for what it does, but it's still another way to make eggs, since you can choose that as a creature type when it enters the battlefield. As a bonus, these artifacts tokens have a toughness of 2, which makes them die to Ether Flash. Tristani, Selesnia's Voice, can populate an egg for relatively cheap while also having the added bonus of gaining you life whenever a creature enters play under your control. Song of the World Soul can also populate an egg every time you cast a spell. You can also make eggs every turn thanks to Seedborn Muse, untapping all of your permanents every untap step. You can even maximize the egg cracking itself by running Strionic Resonator, which allows you to copy Atla's triggered ability. If only Robot Chicken had a functional reprint, then things would really get crazy, since it creates an egg for free whenever you cast a spell, and on top of that, every time one of your eggs dies, you get to destroy an artifact or a creature. It could have definitely been reprinted in Unstable just as it is, but maybe as a cyborg chicken instead. Oh well, a guy can dream. Now that we're cracking our eggs, we want to see what's inside. In order to maximize profit, I am not running any cheap or uneventful creatures. That means no mana dorks, utility creatures, etc. All the creatures are fatties or ways to swing in for damage the same turn. So I'm running all the Eldrazi with Annihilator, like Artisan of Kozilek, Hand of Emrakul, It That Betrays, Kozilek Butcher of Truth, Pathraiser of Ulamog, Spawnsire of Ulamog, Ulamog's Crusher, and Ulamog the Infinite Gyre. Cheating one of these creatures early on can be devastating due to their Annihilator ability. It's a way to indirectly get rid of problematic permanents on the board, since opponents may want to sacrifice other things besides lands so early on. Since these creatures can attack that same turn they're cheated in, it can paint a huge target on you. So it might be prudent to run ways to give haste like Anger, Samut, Voice of Dissent, and Urabrask the Hidden. These are easy enough to hardcast, but can also be cheated into play when sacrificing eggs. Another great creature to cheat into play is Blightsteel Colossus. If your playgroup doesn't mind losing to Infect, then what better way than a hasty Blightsteel going their way? Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger is another great fatty, since it can also mega mill cards from the top of defending player's library while also being a huge beater. Since I'm not running cheap creatures, how do I ramp out? Well, per usual, all the cheap land ramp spells like Farseek, Nature's Lore, and 3 Visits. In order to compensate for the mana dorks, I'm running Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, Talisman of Conviction, Impulse, and Unity, as well as Soul Ring, Mana Vault, and Mana Crypt. The only Moxen I'm not running is Crow Mox, since there's a lot of colorless cards in the deck and testing proved difficult to make good use of it. That being said, I am still running Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, and Mox Amber. Atla is cheap enough that it's not that difficult to get her out by turn 2 or 3. In order to maintain all this synergy, we should be taking advantage of the token production and creatures being cheated into play. That's why I'm running Aura Shards and Mana Echoes. Aura Shards gets rid of pesky artifacts and enchantments, while Mana Echoes gets you colorless mana. If you have Umbral Mantle equipped to Atla and at least 5 eggs in play, that next egg will get you 5 colorless mana, which you can use to untap Atla and then create another token which now gets you 6 mana, etc, etc, etc until you get infinite mana. If you really want to get spicy, this also makes Atla have infinite power and toughness, so you could actually potentially kill someone via commander damage with Atla. Another great card in the deck is Scroll Rack, since it allows you to put some fatties from your hand back on top of your library in order to cheat them into play later. Some other cards I'm running are Sundering Growth, which is a disenchant that populates, a great card for the deck. Sylvan Library in order to draw deep into the deck or at least manipulate the top 2 cards. The life loss won't be that big of an issue if you have Trostani in play. And Enlightened Tutor. Most key cards in the deck are artifacts and enchantments, so it's always great to tutor up for what you need at instant speed. If an opponent were to cast Vandal Blast or some other form of mass artifact hate, try and keep some mana open for cards like Fate's Reward, Second Sunrise, Heroic Intervention, or Boros Charm. These spells help you essentially keep your board state. Heroic Intervention has the added bonus of giving hexproof as well. Scrap Mastery is a great way to recover your artifacts if you don't mind sacrificing any you might already have in play. If all goes really wrong and most of your things are being destroyed left and right, Elixir of Immortality is always a great addition to any deck anyways. As always, I tend to run these kinds of decks without any lands that come into play tapped. If you're interested in the mana base I'm playing with, I'm running both Horizon lands, all 3 dual lands, all 3 shock lands, all 5 pain lands, all 10 fetches, plus Command Tower, Rift's Grove, Reflecting Pool, Exotic Orchard, Bountiful Promenade, Spire Garden, Ancient Tomb, and Temple of the False God. I'm also running 2 of each snow basic land in case opponents are playing something that also benefits me for running them. This brew is just an idea of how to build around Atla Palani Nest Tender. This is definitely a fun commander to build around with the potential of cheating epic creatures early game. Just be careful you don't wind up being the archenemy due to your turn 5 Blightsteel Colossus. You can find my current deck list for this commander down in the description. Thanks for watching this episode of the Brewery on the Commander Tavern. I am Demented Kirby, and happy brewing.